Hi, I'm Susan, and welcome to Tasty Cakes, where I make American desserts one recipe at a time. Today I'm starting my City Tavern Baking and Desserts cookbook journey with Martha Washington's chocolate mousse cake. Only half a recipe because I don't need that much cake. I am measuring my butter currently. This is a creaming method chocolate cake base, so that means I want to add my butter to my sugar, which is in the big white bowl already measured, and give that some time to come to room temperature before I cream it with my hand mixer. As I'm prepping the dry ingredients, this is a volume based recipe. So I'm fluffing the flour and then I'm sifting it to make sure that I don't have too much flour in there and that everything is evenly mixed up and distributed. A lot of chocolate cakes have baking soda as their leavener because the baking soda reacts with the acidic chocolate to make everything rise up. So that's what I'm adding right there. And then a lot of recipes, even for cakes and sweets, add a little bit of salt because that can help um, really make brighten up the flavors. Always a good idea to whisk your dry ingredients together to make sure that they're evenly distributed before you are ready to go. And lastly, I'm getting my eggs ready in a bowl. I like to crack all my eggs and get everything kind of measured out in their own separate bowls and containers before I start adding everything together. It just makes the process go that much more smoothly. So, hand mixer is out. I probably should have used the stand mixer. It would have taken a little bit less time, so I had to go and go and go, chit chatting with my boyfriend who's coming into the kitchen, still going, taking a sip of tea at the same time because I had that much time to get it to a nice, light and fluffy state, which it currently is. So then I moved that mixer to low and added the eggs in gently. I didn't want to add any more air into the mixture already. So for creaming method cakes, the last step is always adding the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients. But you want to do that in an alternating fashion, starting and ending with the dry ingredients. So I put a little bit of the dry ingredients in, mix it to the point where it's just mixed, then add about half of the liquid, which in this case is milk. Again, mix it up till it's just combined. In this case, take another sip of tea, and then I continue the process until all of the dry and wet ingredients are in and just mixed together. The oven has been preheating this whole time, so all I have to do is get it into my pan, smooth out the batter so it bakes up nice and evenly, take a little bit of a quality control taste to make sure that the batter tastes okay. Seems to be pretty good. In the oven it goes, and then I always have to put the timer on or else I will forget. And it's always a good idea to do a little bit of cleanup before it's time to get to our next step, which is preparing the chocolate mousse and filling, and then the chocolate ganache that goes on top. This is a traditional chocolate mousse, although the recipe had me put it together in a little bit of a different way than I'm used to. So in any case, the first thing I had to do was separate the eggs, the yolk and the whites separately. And at this point, I decided to measure out the chocolate I needed for both the mousse and the ganache at the same time and get them separated out to their separate bowls to make it easier and, again, a little bit more quick to have everything come together. And then when you're putting together a chocolate mousse, typically you melt the chocolate and then you add in some type of whipped cream at some point and egg whites that are whipped up at some point. So this recipe calls for me to be melting the chocolate and then add the whisked egg yolks into the chocolate and then fold in some whipped cream and whipped egg whites. So I'm getting all of these things ready to go again before it's time to put everything together. So my chocolate is ready. Whisking in the yolks. I use a hot pad under there to keep the bowl steady, but still needed to keep it steady with my hand a little bit. And then when you add the whipped cream and the egg whites in, a lot of times it's a good idea to sacrifice a little bit of the whipped cream to get the consistency of the chocolate a little bit closer to the whipped cream or the egg whites. And it just makes it easier to fold everything in together, which is what I did just there. And then whenever you're folding in the whipped cream or the egg whites, you just want to make sure you're doing it gently because you don't want to lose any of the volume that you've created through the beating of the cream or the beating of the egg whites. So you'll see a little bit at a time, add a little bit, fold, add a little bit, fold, And then once everything is done, it's always a good idea to add plastic to the top, whether it's to the mousse before it goes into the fridge, or in this case, I've put together the ganache, which is just heated cream and chocolate kind of melted together, because you don't want a little film to uh, occur or to appear on top of your mousse or ganache. It's just not very pleasant. Timer went off, so I'm testing the chocolate cake, but nope, toothpick does not come out clean. So it went in for a few more minutes, finally came out looking lovely, a lot more domed than I expected. So I had to let that cool, and I came back later on to put everything together. So this recipe calls to split the cake layer in half, and then you're adding the mousse filling in the middle. I decided to keep that dome on top of the cake because I wasn't adding a buttercream topping and decorating it or anything like that. So why cut off the dome when it can just be eaten? I noticed that there wasn't a whole lot of mousse filling for this. I thought there maybe could have been a little bit more, but it is what it is. I tried to spread it around as evenly as possible. I am a stickler for super even um, spreading of everything because you want the same amount of mousse in every single bite, no matter who gets what piece of the cake. So that's evenly spread on, top goes on. And in the meantime, my ganache has been heating up over a double boiler. I unfortunately left it on too long, and that caused it to split a little bit and become a little bit curdly or chunky when ganache should be nice and smooth. It was still nice and shiny, but it just didn't have the smooth, silky finish as it should have. But it was what it was. It's not going to change the flavor. I left it on and carefully spread it. The recipe called for toasted chopped nuts on top. I decided to put hazelnuts because you can't beat hazelnuts and chocolate. So I just went ahead, some bigger chunks, some smaller chunks, and there you have it. That's it. Martha Washington's chocolate mousse cake. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my journey. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next recipe.